Hey everybody, how y'all doing? Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Jay. I am a media agency owner. I recently just changed the name to my company, so it's going to be Jay's Media Agency. It was Miss J Inc. for a long time, and I decided because of the route that my company is going in, it just made sense for me to also change the name so that way everything could kind of flow and folks know what to expect when they hit me up and they check out my work and basically follow me from any kind of social network, right? So ultimately, why I am making this video. I am making this video because I want to reintroduce myself to those who may know me, to those who don't know me, and to those who just are looking for me and don't realize it. So I will give you guys some backstory and then I will lead up to where I am right now and what it is that my business does. So I started my business in 2008 and it was a graphic design business at the time where I was ultimately doing graphics. This is around the time when MySpace was pretty big, so I was creating graphics for music artists and being able to really to help them bring out their presence. So I was creating your custom banners for their MySpace page. I was creating the animated banners for sure. I was definitely heavy in that, heavy in creating logos, flyers, album covers, you name it. And helping music artists as well as small businesses as well. Met a lot of different people around that time, and it grew pretty quick. It grew pretty quick. It mostly because of the demand. Around that time, MySpace was what it was, and not a lot of people knew coding. So I was one of the few people around that time that actually understood how to code a website, how to break it down, how to update it, all those things. So I'm pretty intelligent when it comes to mastering and fixing up a site. I don't do that as much now. Now I just do it for my clients that are in my agency, but I don't really do them and promote them to the public. Okay, we'll say that. I did that for, I would say, the graphics about 10 years. And then about 2013 or so is when I got into developing a magazine. Around that time, I had a lot of clients I was working with, but I got tired of being in front of the computer. I got tired of sitting right in front of the computer, and I wanted something different. So ultimately, I wanted to do something that kind of had me get out the house, kind of had me interact with other people, and those things. So what I did was I ultimately created this magazine for models along the lines of something that I had a desire for, or more so I had a passion for. And interestingly enough, it's not talked about enough, but I had a thing for heels. I don't wear them. If anybody is wondering, yes, I am a woman. I am all woman, but I am a masculine identified woman. Okay, and the LGBTQ community would identify me as being a stud. Okay, I just don't think like a lot of them, but that's a whole different topic. So in this sense, I wanted to do something different. I wanted to be able to really showcase my talents in a different way. And what that was going to consist of was me being able to put other people on the pedestal, which was meaning to showcase other business owners, their talents, their crafts, their arts, in the same aspect of something when it came to fashion. Okay, didn't know I was gonna get into the fashion industry like that, but it was cool because again, I met a lot of people in that way. So I was able to really connect with a lot of different other media agencies, other clients that was in those agencies, and to be able to really showcase what I can do for them, which was in a sense really put you in my magazine. A lot of people definitely love to get featured, and in that same breath, I was able to, because I had worked with so many people before, I learned how to maneuver when it came to having conversations with people and getting them to work with me depending on what it is that I do. All right, so being that I had a magazine, my biggest thing was to ultimately grab the attention of small business owners, generally people that were women. For the most part, it was our biggest clientele, but we did feature men as well. And the way that we featured them, they were the music artists of the group, or they happened to be shoe designers. So we would feature them as well in there. So we had a fashion side, we had a music side, and we also had the interviews. interviews was one of my favorite parts, mostly because of the fact that I was able to really get a lot of celebrities involved in those interviews. My biggest way of being able to get those interviews and lock them in was by simply me just reaching out to different people. A lot of that consisted of me reaching out via email, me finding out their PR's email, reaching out to them in that way, and absolutely having a site already set up, having my magazine already being published, so they didn't have to wait. 'Cause I think around that time, I probably had my first celebrity maybe in a second issue, maybe the third, but I was able to generate a lot of attention pretty early because I already had some clients that I had worked with that were already heavy hitters in their industry, and all I had to do was just get them to sign in with me on this magazine, and then as soon as they did, it was getting a lot of people's eyes and attentions. Again, everybody wants to be featured, right? So when you think about it in that aspect, it was easy. It was easy for people to be like, you know what, I want to be a part of what you're doing. I want to be able to get on, and I want to see how I can apply. So from a marketing perspective, the way I was able to market it was, for one, I would reach out to people, of course, to do the major interviews when it came to celebs. And then I also had a gig on Fiverr at the time where I was able to get people to submit to be featured in the magazine, right? And I think I charged maybe $15 at the time, and that was it was a lot. A lot of people were really going through with it, so that gig got pretty popular really quick. And I also posted it on our website, so that way people can say, hey, if you want to be featured, this is a submission cost, and then we can go ahead and see where we can put you at in whatever issue, depending on what you do, right? And if you didn't fit, you just didn't fit. But nonetheless, it was still something that helped us to generate income. On top of that, I was also able to put the website on MadCloud, which was a major company at the time. It might still be now. I just haven't been in the magazine industry in a minute to know, but it was definitely a huge thing that I was doing at that time. And I got it on there, and I think I got up to like maybe 10 issues. Might be less. I ain't gonna lie to you, I can't remember. But it was a good amount of issues for sure, and had a lot of models. I set up a lot of photo shoots. At the time, it was easy. And as I always say, when things appear for you in a certain time in whatever part of your life, whether it's business or personal, some things are going to show up easy to you, and it's best in your experience at that time to be able to take advantage of it, because you're not going to have to put a whole lot of legwork. Meaning, because around that time, MySpace was still picking up, and I was using Craigslist, and I was using Facebook a little bit. I was getting into it. But it wasn't until I started gaining the traction from MySpace and Craigslist, then creating the magazines, then putting those magazines on Facebook, then promoting them through there, was when Facebook really started really adding on to the value of the magazine. And what all that did was allow me to be able to reach out to models, right? So I was in Facebook groups that were geared towards models, and just saying, hey, I have this shoot that's coming up. It's for my magazine. I'm looking for X amount of models. Submit. Same thing with them. Now, they didn't pay for their submissions, because if they got selected, they get to have a shoot with me, and they get to also be promoted in the magazine. So me being a person that I am, and understanding marketing, because I was doing graphic design for X amount of years before, I understood what it meant to have a visual presence. So if I'm going to have you come into my business, and I want to make sure that it looks good on my end as well as yours, I'm going to have you set up with a photo shoot. I'm going to have a makeup artist on deck. I'm going to make sure that we know what looks you're going to do, where you're going to do them at. If I need to book a location, I was going to do that as well. And we just get to work. Just get to work. Something as simple as that. And those simple tactics helped us grow so fast, and got seen by the most, like, some really top level people. And it became a really great asset that I can definitely talk about to this day, and help me when it comes to that. Now, the magazine didn't last very long. It didn't last very long simply because of other personal things that was going on. And not even that, it's a lot of work to manage a magazine. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I had a partner at the time who was helping me, but it wasn't as much help as I needed it to be. So that way I could make sense for me to continue doing the magazine. So ultimately, I had to let it go, and I transitioned. Now, the transitional periods of anything that you're doing, whether it's business or personal. Again, unless you already know what you're gonna do next, it's sometimes I feel like you're in limbo. Like you are in the most confusing stage in your life, and you're trying to figure out where you're gonna go next. And that was a lot of what I was trying to figure out and understand for myself. So I didn't know what the next step was gonna be. So I think at the time I had already left my job, or was like they let me go because some other stuff that take place. But so about 2 years I was trying to find work, um, and then I ended up into MLMs. This part of my career helped me be more comfortable in front of the camera. Being a graphic designer is great because you're behind the scenes. All I gotta do is just design, talk to you on the phone, if I even have to do that, send you emails, do things via text. That way I'm getting revisions. You sign off on those revisions and you're good to go. And I get my money. All right, deposit paid before all of that. Work is done, I get my balance, and we're good. All right. If you want additional revisions after the fact, you pay for that. That's it. Like everything is done behind the scenes, so you don't see me. The only thing that you're seeing is my client because they're the one in the forefront. When it came to the magazine, you might only see me only when I'm doing BTSs. That is the only time. Even when it came to the magazine, the only thing you'll see as far as the magazine is my name. You know, you're not gonna see a picture or anything to that effect, unless of course I'm doing the interviews in person. Now, even when it came to that, I wasn't the most confident when it came to doing the interviews in person, but I was so excited to do the interviews that you wouldn't be able to tell that I wasn't comfortable in front of the camera, okay? Because I would be at events, which is a great way for us to also to grow the magazine at the time, was I was finding a lot of fashion events that was taking place around the city, and I would just apply as media, and I would get into these events for free, ultimately for free, because they are wanting us to go in as media and cover the event. So I'm going in, covering the event, having conversations with the people and the influencers at the time, and their celebrities at the time that are coming to these events to be able to speak with them and interview them, you know, and actually have that one-on-one personal conversation. Thus, I'm also creating content that's going into our YouTube channel. At the time, I was growing that with that, and then building onto our Instagram feed. So, and then on top of that, I also had a blog that was connected with my magazine as far as on the website. So everything that I did via YouTube, even my audio interviews, I had a specific programming spec. I think at the time it wasn't even Zoom. I was using freeconferencecall.com, which is great because it didn't have a limit. I don't think it still has a limit. And if it did, it may be like maybe an hour, but it's more than Zoom and it's free. Right, so I would have people call in and we have the conversations on there, and of course it'd just be audio. So I had the audio calls, I had, as far as the interviews, I had the video interviews, and I had, of course, the written interviews and the featured sections, which were allowing me to create my website and build up my blog. So all that content was coming consistently. So I was like probably generated a good, I ain't gonna lie to you, and I don't want to over exaggerate, but subscribers that we definitely had, they were close to 100 within the time that we had them, maybe more, you know, and we probably should have had more, but it was the attention that we were getting more than anything. So even if people didn't subscribe to the paper magazines, people were definitely buying the digitals. So that's another thing too. So you have to think about it. When you have a magazine, you may have a subscription deal, but a lot of people may not purchase the subscription because in their mind they might not need all these other issues coming out, so they might just want just one issue. So that's why it was great for us to have it on MadCloud, because we was getting paid by MadCloud. I'll say that because people go there and they'll just buy their issue that they want. Maybe their friend was in that issue, or maybe it's the model that was in the particular issue. So she told all her friends and her family that they went ahead and bought their copy so that we can support as well. So you're getting that revenue too, and on top of what we were getting when it came to Fiverr. And on top of what we were also doing when it came to YouTube, because eventually you start to monetize depending on how much content you're putting out, all right, and how many people are looking at that, okay. And then on top of that, I was also printing out the magazines myself. So I'm giving you guys a lot of gems right now to break down the amount of work that goes into this, right? And then I'm gonna segue back into me doing the MLMs and why I'm even covering the rest of these, okay? So when it came to the prints, I went to this one company called Best Value Copy, I believe it was, and all I had to do was get my dimensions of what I wanted for my magazine prints, how many pages I wanted to print out. I always had a certain number that I had for each issue, so that way I would never go over, and that amount that I am paying for that magazine, when I sell it, it makes sense, so that way when people actually go to they purchase their magazine, my profit it adds on, and it's not where I'm just basically just making my base, you know. So that was important to me as well. So you kind of have to think about your margins, and you have to understand them over time. Now, once that was done, I took all the information that I learned from being a graphic designer, being able to work with other artists, how they were able to communicate with me, and how I was able to communicate with them, understanding how they thought, understanding what the clients needed, understanding what it is that I needed to do as a business owner and as a creative. And even though I may have a particular idea of what I want somebody to do and how I need them to move in any kind of visual aspect, at the end of the day, the client is going to want what they want. Okay, and as long as I'm able to provide that, that's all that matters. So having to take that mindset and all that information that I had learned from graphic design, everything that I had learned from being a magazine owner and editor, and publisher ultimately, then transferring all the way to becoming into this MLM. Now, at the time, the MLM that I got into was MCA, Motorclub of America. I will genuinely say that I enjoyed it. And the reason why I enjoyed it, because I could just be just like this in front of my camera on a computer and talk about MCA. Now, you got to also think about the time frame when MCA came out, or was more so as being really, really popular. So a lot of people were looking for MCA videos, okay? So I was able to monetize on that channel monthly. Okay, it wasn't like no astronomical numbers. Like I wasn't making thousands of dollars per month, but I was able to generate a lot of views. But the interesting thing about that is not only was I talking about MCA, I was also doing things with cars. Okay, there was one video in particular that blew up, and it was a video that I had a starter, I believe it was like ignition starter in my car at the time, which was a '91 Corolla. Okay, and I went and got it priced because I needed to get it replaced so that I could actually utilize the vehicle. I went to get it priced, and the price that I was given was $300 for the part and the labor. So in my mind, I'm like, nah, first, I don't have it. And two, I feel like it's not going to be that much if I do it myself. So, of course, I'm doing my due diligence, looking online and YouTube, seeing other people's videos, right? Because it's a lot of times where you see what other people are doing in their videos so that you can get an idea of what you need to do for yours, all right? So especially when it comes to doing how to repair this part. So all I had to do was go to carparts.com. Like a lot of things that I went and looked for and found were very simple. Like I wasn't going to the most extensive website. Of course, yeah, I would go to like Pull Apart to see if I could find the part. Couldn't find it, but then if you obviously want something brand new as well, that's best where you would go to a website like carparts.com and be able to find what model number that you're looking for, based on the car that you have. Then you can purchase it, and then of course you start doing whatever you need to do with it. So I think I probably spent maybe $20 on the part. I ain't gonna lie to you, maybe $20, maybe $50 max. Then the part came to me, and I recorded me fixing and repairing my part, repairing the car part. And then ultimately my title was, which I was starting to understand titles. At the time, my title was being able to, I could probably find a video on here, but the title was turning a $300 repair into like $50 or $75, something like that, right? It got a lot of views. It got a lot of views, almost immediately, to where people was asking me what other parts do they need. I'm not a mechanic. I just knew how to fix my car for that particular part at that particular time. So anything else that was needing to be asked, I didn't know. I was just fixing my car. I needed a car to work. So it blew up. It blew up. But the beauty of that channel was because you would think I was trying to grow a mechanic channel, but all I was doing was using the MCA basis of that channel to be able to segue into me doing car repairs on my own. Then ultimately being able to say, hey, I also have this service that you guys want to sign up for and apply for, and then that way you can be able to really utilize this service for your vehicle and other vehicles you may have down the line, which was of course the roadside assistance, in my opinion, which was actually a great service. The interesting part about being part of the MLM when it comes to a monetizing situation, I didn't make a lot of money in MCA, for real. I made money talking about MCA through YouTube, but when it came to actually selling the product itself, no. So all the videos that you see of people posting the money in their hands as a fan and posting all this, the hoopla when it comes to, oh, I'm making $10,000 a month, blah, 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 and exaggerating it, in my opinion. Some people may have been making that money because, of course, ultimately you have to have a community and a fan base already built so that you can sell whatever product that you have. Keep in mind, even if the product ain't even the best, but because you got a community already built, you can sell the product and make money, right? So for me, I was building my community. So I think I grew that page quickly to like a good 2,000, almost 3,000 subscribers at that time. And then I would make various videos. Some videos I would talk about the highest earner in the company, and I would get backlash on it, but it got me views still. Then the channel kind of moved around in different directions. Started doing motivational videos, which didn't get as much traction as my MCA videos, because at that time, MCA kind of fell off. They started raising their prices when it came to people getting back on, and even their payout was dwindled. And so a lot of people dropped. So it wasn't making any sense to make videos on it anymore because of that. Then another company came out called Cloud Phone, so I started jumping on that. Then I started realizing a pattern. I think it was another company I jumped after Cloud Phone, and the pattern really sank into my mental and saying, network marketing is cool, but ultimately is literally jumping from one thing to the next at that time that's popular. I didn't care for that. I didn't like having to go from one company to the next company and trying to build that company up. And now when that company dies off, I got all these old videos about a company that no longer exists. And it doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't look good on my side, right? Now keep in mind, those videos are still there to this day, but it just was the imagery that it was ultimately giving. So I started getting into different aspects of the business of MLM, which was finding other companies that resonated with me. And of course, I would, if anybody who's been in network marketing, you are going to try a multitude of companies just to see which fits for you. Okay, so as other ones I did with Level Rewards, it was maybe 2 other companies that I jumped in to see how they would work. Again, still didn't care for any of them because all they're doing is creating a video, showing how the company and the system works. Then you are hoping people are clicking on the link that you have, which is your capture page, then ultimately being able to get them to more information and possibly get into that one video that is going to sell them on that product, hence clicking that button below the video that says, hey, buy here. Cool, when it comes to building a business. So I was able to find my aspects of what I needed to learn when it came to network marketing. So my takeaways were, and again, this is all mixed in with what I learned from being a graphic designer and being a magazine editor, was basically being more comfortable in front of the camera. There was points where I was in front of the camera and the scene behind me was a mess. Like, it was looking like I had a tornado ran through my apartment at the time. Well, I was in a house at the time. It looked like a tornado ran through it. I didn't try to fix it up, none of that stuff. And some things might look like it was fixed up, but it was so conglomerated that it looked messy and confused. But I was still making videos, and I was still getting hits on those videos, which is why I emphasize today more than anything to anybody really that you could just get started. You do not have to have the best looking content right now, but if you get started, it'll get better. If you will look at my video right now, the video I'm talking to you guys on right this second, and look at the videos that I've had from my previous channel, which is the Haitian Mogul, you'll see a big difference. you'll see a huge difference. Of course, now we're paying attention to how lighting is making a difference in videos, and how it applies to gravitating one's eye, right? Because if you can catch their attention with just possibly how you may look, like me coming even on this video, I had to be strategic. I had to make sure the lighting behind me looked pleasant. I had to make sure that I look like I'm taking care of myself. My lighting facing me is actually looking good as well. Making sure whatever I am wearing is pleasing and aesthetically attractive to me and my skin, for one, and my body type. So that way, when anybody sees me on any network, they'll be like, oh, okay, she look like she takes care of herself, right? Because all those things make a difference. And you have to elevate the more that you are creating content, especially if this is the line of work that you want to get in and you want to get better at. All right, you have to be able to find ways to elevate and get even better than you were before. So got comfortable in front of the camera. All right, no matter what my situation was, I got comfortable to talk. So the way I'm talking to you right now, it took years for me to get this comfortable. From somebody who was behind a computer for over 10 years, and now I am purposely putting myself in front of the camera to share the knowledge that I've had all this time. Okay. On top of that, when it comes to being comfortable in front of the camera, I was also able to understand marketing in a sense of the network marketing and how I could use it for myself. So I had an email list for the most part when I was doing graphic design, but I didn't really use it. It was more so just me, just how I was communicating with people, just communication, revisions, submitting for new work, that type of stuff. And that was the only way I was actually using the emails. So it wasn't until the network marketing and that started making more sense. I was like, you know what, you need to use that, because you'll be surprised at how much information people are going to want to take from you to be able to make it work for them, right? So I understood building an email list and having a capture page set up. And because I already had a background in website designing and creating, I was able to put a website together, simple website, and have a capture page on that website. And me not having to spend $300+ because of course that's how much I would normally charge my clients for a website, but I can just do it on my own and make that money on the front end, right? And that could be in different various ways. So I was able to understand how to market online. So keep in mind, with me even being a graphic designer, I didn't market a lot online because I didn't really have to. A lot of my clients came from word of mouth. A lot of my clients came because they knew somebody that got work for me and they seen their work and they wanted to work as well, and they reached out to me, and it just kept growing like that. Like I really didn't have to promote a whole lot for real. The only time I promoted was when I first started, and that was me doing free designs. I set myself up to do 10 free designs just to get work out there. Did that 10 free. Once I was done with those 10, then I started giving my lowest prices at the time, which was $15 per logo. So I'm doing the $15 per logos. Then after I started again doing enough logos, I doubled that up, then doubled it up, and then doubled it up to the point where now, if somebody were to hit me up, my logos is like $150, right? Now, same thing when it comes, of course, to the websites. You get your basic websites. I maybe had 2 free sites that I actually maybe did just to get the work out. Then I would charge $50 depending on what you wanted. And it was $100, $150, $200, $300, $300. Now I then go up to $500+, right? And that's over time. And even that nowadays, because a lot of people can either create their own site or use a site like Square, you don't really need to hire graphic designers, which brings me to why I changed up my company into an agency versus me just being a graphic designer. So graphic design started changing around the time Facebook really took off. And why I say that is because Facebook didn't require you to have custom graphics. Whereas MySpace, you needed custom graphics, you needed the codes, you needed the music player, all those things to make your page unique. When Facebook came on to play and it transitioned out of just being for college students, it was something as simple as just having your banner up, no motion whatsoever, no music playing. You have a profile picture and you got your list of your feed of whatever you want to post on there. That was it. that kind of plummeted my business. I ain't gonna lie to you, because at that point I had to pivot, but I didn't know how to pivot. So I was hence around that time that's when the magazine came into play, because I decided I needed to do something else with everything that I had already known to do. So I started to understand, okay, let go of my space and that mentality, because it's not there for me anymore, and it's not going to be a benefit. So now I need to understand this new platform that is taking hold, that a lot of people are getting on, and realize how to use it. So that's when I started using more of the groups. Now, keep in mind, with me being part of the LGBT community, I was able to jump in a lot of those groups. So I was able to have a lot of conversations, like genuine conversations about with my community. But I also was allowing them to jump in on my personal feed, so that way they can see what I do, what I talk about, and ultimately being able to bring it to my fan page. So I was like, all my fan pages have over 5,000 likes on them. I think except for Haitian Mobile. No, actually, I think I got 5,000 likes as well. But my magazine definitely reached over like 10,000 likes at the time. So again, that's going to show you that the work that you put in is going to show itself, because you're putting in that work, right? So I was able to really see how all of those things really took hold and helped my business ultimately, and I was very, very happy about that, because I needed that. Okay, so I realized, okay, cool. Well, I can use Facebook like this. All right, get my likes up, my fan page likes up, get more engagement on my personal page to bring people to the outside sites. Get focused in these groups, utilize these groups, so that way they make sense. So now I'm joining in creative groups, I'm joining in fashion groups, I'm joining in groups with business women, so that way we can connect and they can see what I do, and then from there they can jump in and get connected business wise. And of course, by the time the MLMs came in, I had a second personal page, which was basically focused on the MLMs, which I was able to grow over time because of that. So that page was mostly for my MLMs. So I was in a lot of those groups and met a lot of people when it came to network marketing. Then when I got out of network marketing, I took a semi-break. And it's around this time, the semi-break was because I was getting a divorce, okay? I had some personal things in my life that needed to be adjusted. I changed my life from what I was doing before, which it'd be hard for you to believe that I was actually not necessarily an alcoholic, but I had a problem with alcohol ultimately, and it was destroying my life. Destroying my life to the point where I had no self-esteem. Even though I was putting out work and I was getting work, I still wasn't sure of myself and what I wanted to do and what I needed to do to be able to get me to a place of success that I had for so long had wanted. So meaning that my thought process when it came to my business was shitty. So I did not know how to really run a business effectively. Everything that came in went right back out. And it wasn't always to go right back into the business. It was just taking care of bills, buying frivolous things, and making really bad judgment. Just having bad judgment in general. So it wasn't until I stopped drinking, stopped smoking, and stopped partaking in a lot of other things that was detrimental for me, is when things in my personal relationship at the time started to show itself, and then ultimately I had to get away from it altogether. It was a very tumultuous time, I ain't gonna lie to you, but it was necessary for the growth that I needed, just for me, not for anybody else, but just for me. So that was the reason why I took that break. And then after that break, I got into another relationship, which was way more aligned than with where I was trying to go and who I'm trying to be. Now we get into how this agency is starting to form, right? So I started into it because keep in mind, I also started when I was a graphic designer, and then doing my graphics from a magazine. I was also taking pictures. So I was a photographer as well, but I wasn't doing it full time. It was just for the magazine. So it wasn't until my partner, who started getting into pole dance. Okay, got into pole dance, and then from there, she would encourage me to take classes from time to time. I was definitely heavy in doing my own fitness, but I also wanted a different style of fitness so I can, keep that momentum going. So she suggested, of course, I get into a couple of classes. So I took a couple of classes. I really liked it. It was cool, but I didn't think nothing of it. So it wasn't until I would say around that time I started noticing their content. Right. So I'm just like, I see what they're doing and I like how they're doing it. So maybe it's something I could possibly look into on my own. At that time, again, it wasn't something I was doing heavy, but I was like, well, I can use my camera phone at the time and start doing like little footage from time to time. Like, hey, you guys should start posting this, because keep in mind, I'm using the mental that I have from what I was doing before. Because I'm realizing, of course, that anything that I am partaking in when it comes to marketing, it can all be used obviously with social media, right? So now, this group of people that I started interacting with, they were on social media, but they weren't using it in the sense of them promoting their services, not in this light. So I came in, I was like, well, let's try this. Let's see how this works. So at the time, there was somebody that was already doing videos there. That's my pole mom, actually. I've learned a lot from her. And so I learned on how she would move her cameras and how she would take certain footage when it came to the class that she would be a part of teaching or just supervising, right? And then, of course, getting tidbits from my partner as well. And she would say, hey, try this, try that. Those different type of things. And this was just with my phone. So I was like, you know what? I feel like this might be something I need to get into. So I had a camera at the time, which was a Fujifilm. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't what I needed to be able to get me where I needed to go. So ultimately, I sold it. I put it on Marketplace. Somebody bought it from me. The money that I had from there, I basically just put it back into the business at that time so that way I can invest in a new camera. At that time, there was a company called Flex Shopper, and they let you lease product from them, brand new products, brand new electronics. And I saw a camera there, which was a Canon T7, and I was like, this could be good. I did my research, of course. It was great for pictures, great for videos, and I ultimately wanted to do more pictures, and I was going to use my phone for the videos in the meantime. So then once I got the camera, then made my first deposit, and I started using it. Started using it almost immediately. So I started doing free photo shoots with people that I knew. Then when people had certain classes, for some of them, I would do content when it comes to the videos, and if not, I did the videos at home. Then started doing the photo shoots at home. So some people would book me to do their shoots at the house. Then we had a content room, so I was able to create that and set that up. So that way we had a poll in there, we had a TV in there for them to connect to Spotify. We even had a futon in there. And the lighting as well. So that way you can say, hey, this is where you can create content. And of course, at that time, content was becoming pretty big. So being able to use that room to ultimately create content, do photo shoots, video shoots. So I used it a lot to be able to create a lot of content for a lot of those people in that group when it came to pole. So then, because of that, I was like, all right, cool. This is pretty cool. Then I got into my first pole show. First pole show was pretty cool. It was pretty cool, but you could tell it was my first one. I had a gimbal, but I was also learning how to use the gimbal. So, again, it wasn't bad. I still post that video from time to time now, but it was just because you could tell I'm getting used to motion. But I'm also thinking how I'm moving around, and a lot of people weren't doing this. I am moving around with the performers. So the pole dancers are dancing, but I'm also on the floor with them. So I am with my gimbal, but I'm moving around with them. Wherever they go, I go. So you got these chairs of all the audience, but then on the floor is me moving from one side to the next side, and you got the pole dancer. All right. So the videos were always interactive, and I liked that because I wasn't seeing a lot of people posting videos like that for real at that time. And what year was this? This was like 2020, 2021, and it just wasn't a thing that you should really see. So I was like, all right, cool. And keep in mind, pole shows weren't really heavy at that time either. So this was the company that I was with was Rose and Concrete by Concrete Rose Seduction. That's my pole mom, Concrete Rose Seduction. and this was the first show, and I saw how I was able to shoot the first show, and then I realized I liked editing because I put the recap together, and I liked how it was, and I remember the song that I put it to because I love Tink, and I put the song with that video, and it was fire. It was so hot, and to this day, it's one of my favorite ones, still to this day. And I remember the feeling that I had after making it. And once that video came out, it blew up. It blew up. Now everybody want to be a part of RFC. Now everybody want to be a pole dancer. Everybody want to get a pole name, a rose name. Everybody want to be taught. Everybody want to be in the videos. Everybody want to be at the shows. Like, it was one of those things, all right? And all I'm doing personally, I'm just loving being behind the scenes and recording all these things. So again, keep in mind, while this is all happening, I am now, by the time the second show is coming to be, I'm starting to take classes regularly by Concrete Rose, all right? So that was working out, right? And that was basically how we developed our partnership. We started developing our friendship, but that was definitely how we started developing the business partnership in that aspect. So ultimately became her videographer. So I became her videographer. I also became my partner's videographer, who is Jada La Pearl. She is actually Flo with Pearl Lush on social media, pretty much everywhere. So if you see her and a lot of her content, a lot of the videos is things that I've recorded, and it just kept growing. It just kept growing. So then every time there was a show, whether it was Concrete Rose or Jada's shows, and now she has her own shows, which is Lush Escapades Review and other people's pole shows, because again, that was one of the first ones that I was doing, and it wasn't a lot of them at the time, which is as far as RFC goes. So around that time, they started to grow. Now everybody's starting to develop their own pole shows in almost every state, right? So now I am not only reaching out to some of these places, but people are also reaching out to me. So they're getting their videos for all their performers, and they're getting their recaps, right? So that was something that I ultimately realized, okay, cool, I can mess with this. I can really do this for a while and really fall in love with it. Now, just like with anything else, things eventually will start to get popular. And I don't like using the word oversaturated because anybody can make money in any industry, but it does get to a place where you start to realize, all right, now everybody's doing it too, right? So now what is it that you have to do to set yourself apart? That was my thing, having to always, at the end of the day, like I say, I always want to make sure I'm elevating. I always make sure I'm doing something different because I don't want to be the same, and I don't want you looking at me 5 years from now and be like, damn, you still doing that? Nah, I want you to be like, oh shit, okay, you're on something else now. Yes, okay? So the change that I had to ultimately make was deciding on how I wanted to utilize my business. Is it just gonna be me being a videographer, me just being a photographer from time to time, me just marketing? And even around that time, I was only advertising videos, but I kept getting people asking me about photo shoots. So I was like, I wasn't really trying to get into that for real. But yeah, I keep asking, all right, cool. Now keep in mind, the camera that I bought, it was supposed to be for pictures, but I use it for video. So I ultimately excel when it comes to creating videos on that camera, as well as on my own phone. I still use my phone for videos at this time, to this day. But it wasn't, of course, I started getting people asking me about photo shoots, and I was like, you know what? All right, I guess I gotta start doing photo shoots and really start promoting them even more. So that way I'm not just doing the videos. So then I started doing the photo shoots, right? So now they're not just the free ones anymore. I'm actually booking a location. I'm actually learning lighting. I'm taking courses. I'm testing out things at home, testing out things with my partner, with my group of people as well, seeing what things look like, and getting better over time. So ultimately, I was able to add on photography to my business. So I was like, all right, cool. But one thing was missing. This whole time, from the time 2008 hit, all up until I'm doing the pole shows, I'm still not really talking about marketing. So it's like, again, having that question of, are you just a videographer and a photographer, or are you going to tag in your marketing, because you are still using all these methods for your clients. You just don't talk about them, but you are having those conversations with the people, but you're not talking about them online for other people to also get that knowledge. So I had to sit with myself and realize, you know what, let's put all three of them together. All right, so that's when I started really paying attention to like, okay, this is really starting to become like an actual media thing for real, for real. And I ultimately just wanted it to be just one thing. So I started having more conversations about marketing. So now I'm sharing the knowledge that I've had over the years to be able to tell others, hey, this is what I've learned when it comes to marketing my business and these different businesses that I have been a part of. So that way I can be able to really tap in and share this information. That's it. Like, I'm not necessarily charging you. If you want a consultation, that's different. But just me just sharing information like I'm doing right now, I have no problem doing that. At the end of the day, I like to talk, and I like to be able to talk about things that I have a passion for, and it's business, it's marketing. Videography and photography, I could talk about, but I'd rather you see those things, like see me do a finished video, create a finished commercial, right? Or see the behind the scenes of how I'm doing a particular photo shoot. Then I'll show you the pictures that I've edited after you see the raw shots, right? And all of those things, and really showing you the process. Because me coming up in my media agency, in my media company altogether, I didn't see a lot of people really showing the process. So I had to figure out the process, and I had to make it make sense. So because of the fact that I started really now showing the process, I was able to get other people to understand how I work, right? To really understand my business, and then ultimately it makes them want to book with me. It makes them want to work with me. It makes them want to watch me, So it's interesting that now that I'm on a hiatus temporarily until like April, that people are already trying to book shows. And I'll say this again because I've been saying it, that people already are trying to book shoots with me all the way until August already. So that's a shocker to me, because you don't ever think of how big an impact your work is making until somebody reaches out to you and say, hey, I've been watching you for a while. Then you go and look at their credentials and you're like, whoa, like, really? Somebody like me? Are you sure? And then you start having conversations with them, and you realizing as you're having a conversation with them and how you talk to them, and it makes you understand why they chose you. And I say that because of the fact that I have developed an interesting way of how I communicate with my clients. I am very, very keen on making sure that I am professional at all aspects. The reason why is, of course, it makes me look good in my business. And for two, I hear way too many horrible stories about how people have done work with somebody in a professional setting, but the person that they were working with were far from being professional. Thus, it made them uncomfortable. It made them not want to work with that person again, So I take those horrible stories and I make sure that I never duplicate them for my clients. I want you to leave here with a very positive experience. I want you to be able to say, I love working with this person because of how they made me feel. I want you to be able to share that with anybody else that you might come across. And once they see whatever we have done and put together, then you can vouch for me without me having to be in the room. That's the type of stuff that I pride myself on, right? And a lot of people don't pay attention to that. But when you start noticing how long people have been in the business, there's a reason for that. Okay? So if you've been in business for only a few years and then you aren't in business anymore, it makes me wonder why. I don't care, but it makes me wonder why, But if you got somebody like myself who's been in it at this point, 2018 done passed, 3 more years, I would have been in business for about 20 years. And this is, of course, various businesses. And now ultimately in a place of my life where I was like, finally want to really push it out there and take it even more serious. It's been a side hustle, I ain't gonna lie to you, for like the last 10, 15 years. But now I really want to make sure that I am pushing it to the point where it's taking care of my family, myself, and everything else that I got going on for me in the future, right? So that's where me having to think outside the box. It's not just doing one show here, one show there. Now it's thinking about how can I batch my content? How can I make money off of my content? How can I create consultations and make money off of that? How can I create packages that people would want to purchase on a monthly basis and be able to get the content that they also are requiring of me to be able to get them to the next level, right? Which again, now we are going to pivot into the final talk, which is the agency. What it is that I do, what it is that I and my services are, and why you will benefit from them. Okay, so ultimately, my agency is for entertainers. All right, now I work with models, I work with pole dancers, I work with burlesque dancers, but ultimately it is entertainers of all sorts. So I work with artists as well, like music artists, but not as much as I used to. So now it'll be dancers. Okay, so in the sense of why it's dancers, because it's fun. Like, it's fun. Like, I can't turn that down. But it's also because of the fact that there's so much you can do with it. The dancing aspect is, of course, the video portion. Then you got certain poses where you can use when it comes to the photography portion. Then, depending on where they want to take their business and their dance to, is where the marketing comes into play. So that is whether you want to start getting booked for major shows. So you want to now have a dance reel that is going to show your highlights of your best moves, right? That you can post on all your social networks, for example. How you want to, of course, display yourself when it comes to your website. Things of that nature, so that way you don't have to do all the heavy thinking to be able to put that together. I can do that for you. Okay, and again, it doesn't just only stay with dancers, but because it does go into the modeling aspect, but it is in a particular way. So it's not fashion, all the way fashion modeling to the point where it's so PG or PG-13. Like, my things get a little raunchy. Like, I'm just gonna be honest with you. My niche, it can definitely get a little raunchy to the point where some of my clients, they have an OnlyFans page, and I support that. I also show you how to market that. Okay, so this is where, in this part of my career, I am understanding, appreciating, and adding value into what it is that I specifically do and for who I specifically do them for. Okay, so yes, if somebody hits me up and says, "Hey, I want a wedding done," I'm gonna do that for you as of right now. You know, if I decide later on I might not want to do that route no more, then that's gonna be that. But I'm gonna take those gigs if it makes sense for me, right? Because I just did a wedding. I actually did a couple of weddings this past year, so that was able to make that work for me, right? And they loved it. They loved the content that came out of it. Same thing when it comes to, I think I just did a mother to be shoot, a pregnancy shoot. Came out beautifully because, of course, I've been learning how to really test out my lighting and do better with that. And then now that I finally got an external flash, how that was able to come out, right? So now I'm also in the process of purchasing even more equipment. So I'll be creating more videos on how to utilize certain types of equipment to be able to grow your business, especially if you're trying to do media like myself. So we'll get into those things. So I'll break down each portion of the business and then how you can bring them together so that way you can also have your own agency. Like, it doesn't have to be just me. I'm one person, but I'm also having people inside of my agency where I have clients, but I also have people that are studying under me, training under me, learning the business under me. So that way they can also learn how to go and do and produce their own shows. I don't have to be there, but we can set it up together, and then you go make your money with the time that you spend while you're out there, create your invoices, and then from there, everybody can eat. Everybody can eat to the point where I got my clients that have their own collaborated deals, getting paid from those deals as well, being able to obviously make money off of their social media, understanding how to promote their social media. So these are the type of things that I offer to my clients. So that way, they are always seeing, of course, value in themselves, because I'm going to pump you up. Best believe I'm going to pump you up. But I'm also going to say, hey, try this based on what it is that you are great at, right? So I'm not going to just push something down your throat if you don't mess with it. Like, if you don't do modeling and you're not into, like, fashion, I'm not going to suggest it, you know? But if I see something in you and you're like, I think I want to do this, but I'm not sure. But okay, cool. Well, let's try it out and see, right? Then we're going to go that route. And if you really fall in love with it and it's something that you really want to continue doing, then that's when I'm going to push you to do more of that thing. Because ultimately, with anything that you want to do, especially when it comes to making money off of it, you want to have more of that thing, so that way people can see that you know what it is that you are doing in that realm, in that industry, in that niche. Hence why I do what I do, how often that I do it. Because of the fact that I am okay. So I am sorry, I got distracted. My sister is sending me text, and I should have put my phone on do not disturb. Nonetheless, family. I am ultimately cultivating an agency and a business that is helping build up a personal brand. I work with other companies as far as a collaboration sense, but I also have clients that are signed under me as my own personal models, as my own personal entertainers, artists, so to speak, that I help build up. And the reason why I'm actually going to tell you why I'm separating the two. When it comes to brand collaborations, typically those brands are companies that are already built. They already are established. They just want somebody to help them when it comes to the media, which is going to be your videos and your photography, and give them some advice when it comes to marketing. That's what I do with two companies right at this moment. Right now, it is definitely Road from Concrete. It's been doing it for some years now, and I just got into another company last year, which is CPN, Career Pole Network. That one was actually the first company that booked me out of the country, which was pretty cool. I was able to really follow them and do media outside the country and do a photo shoot, which is on the beach. That came out great. I'm extremely happy about that, to show you how far you can go when it comes to something that you are putting your passion into and your efforts and the investment into. And now, of course, we got businesses within my company. So it's my company and my clients even also have their own businesses. So the difference between that is the clients that I have, especially ones that are long term, they're the ones that I work with from the start. So basically, they don't already have a business, but they have an idea of one. So I am helping them ultimately put the idea together. That is creating the logo, that is creating the website, that is getting the contracts underway, that is being able to advertise their forms if they need somebody to apply for something specifically in their business, and how to formulate those things so that way people can say, oh, okay, cool. Well, now I see that this has been done. And then they want to get into their business, and they can also allow them to help them grow their business at the end of the day. That's what I'm here for. Simple, right? I love it though. I love it. It's hectic, it's chaotic, it's fun, sometimes frustrating, but the same way that I used to feel about graphic design when it comes to no matter how intricate a website can be, the finished product of that website was always my favorite part. Same thing when it comes to media. No matter how much work we got to put into this whole thing, at the end of the day, the finished product or the polished product is always my favorite part. I love being able to help you put a commercial together, going through all the steps, the idea portion, the planning portion, the actual going to the creating, the takes, which is going to be usually multiple takes, and then finally putting the edit together of what it is that you wanted it to be, using different programs to put the edit together, getting your feedback, then ultimately putting the text within that video, posting that video, then separating that video in multiple parts to be able to post it on different platforms so that it can get more eyes on it, to get it to go to the ultimate call to action, which will be your website or your mailing list. To be able to help you grow all of that is the most favorite thing of mine. So this goes to say, if you're looking for an agency that can help you build up your personal brand, again, it's a personal branding agency, okay? Whether you're a model, an entertainer, a dancer, exotic or non, it doesn't matter. If you are needing content on a consistent basis, videos, photos, you also are needing somebody to help you to break down that content and not just throwing it at you so that you don't know where to post it, how to post it, and how to market it specifically and strategically, and ultimately being able to make money off of that content. This is where my agency will come into play. Now, if you are looking to build an agency like mine, just follow my social network. Follow me on YouTube for sure when it comes to my long form videos, because I will break down as much as I can for you to be able to get you started and get you going. Because you might have a lot of people that you want to put together in a network, but don't know how to do it. And you don't know how to help them when it comes to the visual aspect. I can help you with that as well. And keep in mind, I'm still learning. So whatever I learn, I share. And I have no problem giving the game. So with that being stated, because I did want to do an hour on there, we got like 10 seconds left, but I definitely want to tell you guys that I appreciate anybody that's watching this video from wherever you are. If you have taken anything from this video and it has made sense to you, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, because this was a whole hour of me just talking. I don't care if everybody that came on here. I know people are going to watch it later. I know that I'm going to make more videos about this later. I know that this needs to be heard. This needs to be said. I know that this is needed in our community. I know this is needed in the world. So if this was of value to you, please make sure that you are giving a thumbs up or liking this video wherever you are seeing this at. Subscribe to my channel, because I will have more content coming out to you. Please make sure that you are also leaving me comments and giving me some feedback. Let me know if this helps you, if I left out some things, if you feel like you need some more elaborating on a particular topic that I may have talked about in this video. Please do so. And on that note, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you so much, and y'all have a beautiful night.